visible for you. You'll notice that in our book, we have a chapter that covers both the informative and the persuasive chapter in one. We're obviously not going to go over all of that. We're just going to take pieces of information from the informative chapter or the informative / persuasive chapter so that you can get a handle on what you need for this assignment. Plus, I'll be jumping into the referencing section and just giving you just pieces of information that are most relevant for you at this moment and get you ready to start your research. So to begin, the important aspect of an informative presentation, a lot of students think, I just want to get to the good stuff. I want to get to persuasion. And well, we first have to go through this very informative presentation. But your book does a nice job in demonstrating that, hey, this is something that is very important. And in fact, you will be listening and providing more informative presentations than persuasive presentations. So why not learn how to do this well? And it's obviously going to help you with your persuasive presentation. Now, as far as information being very important in life, this is according to the Decidedly Revealed Making Connections textbook, you are rewarded in life for actually holding information that is valuable to others. It's part of the reason why you're in school. Being in school means that you are gaining skills and knowledge that you'll know how to use in order to benefit others, that people will value, and you'll be rewarded for that in our culture, in our world. It's always been that way. So being here, this is one of the reasons you actually recognize that in some way, that holding these skills, this information, and knowing how to use it for the benefit of others is going to be good for you. So information is actually a commodity, and it's a privilege too. And it's something that people don't just typically have. This is a very unusual situation in this room. Okay, you may not realize this, but you are crazy, crazy, rich, wealthy by being in a college classroom, by being educated to this point, by having the access to the information that you have. So think of the most powerful people throughout history. Who have they been?
People of royalty.
Royalty. Very good. Who else? Okay, good.
Military leaders.
Good. Good and bad military leaders. So you have your dictators, the church, have all had this type of privilege with this power of knowledge that people really, they could benefit from, but it wasn't easily given. It wasn't easily passed on. And that meant that they were holding a certain kind of power. If we're talking about social justice, it's one of the reasons why I'm in education, is because I believe that education is the key to social justice. And part of what you're talking about here, make it more accessible to us. Because, my gosh, if the people can think, what's going to happen? Okay, who's not going to have power anymore? People that are hoarding it all the time. We get more of a say at what's going on in our lives. So this is an incredible source of power by having information that others find useful. It's always been like this. The thing about being in this classroom, and that's so special about it, is if you're going to look at the rest of the world, you're in the top 2%. Top 2% of wealth, top 2% of privilege. We don't realize that because when we look at each other, we're in the same boat. We all feel that privilege. If you want to know anything about anything, what do? You're going to pull it up on your little mini computers on your phones. You're going to look it up, and it's so easy for you. It's not easy for everybody. This is a privilege that we have. So with that also comes a huge burden of responsibility. And there's nothing that bothers me more than when I see a highly privileged person abusing that and misleading intentionally people, or even unintentionally because they could know better. So these are things that, with this, are ethics. We can see a lot of examples in history. We can see a lot of examples right now where people are using information and it isn't very constructive. It's tearing people down, it's hurting others, it's dividing others. So that's what we want to instill in a class like this, are the ethics and responsibility that we have behind us. And so we'll keep on looking at that, and that definitely comes up when we talk about persuasion and presenting information in a way that's going to help people see a fair way, an effective argument. And then, of course, with here, just the information itself, providing that in an ethical way. Okay, so now that we understand how important informative presentations are and persuasive they are, but this is still very important, the thing that you need to realize is that with each type of presentation, you have what's called a general purpose. This is a topic, this is going to just carry us throughout the entire class. This is a really important, these are really important terms. You're going to see this on the test. So a general purpose identifies your relationship with the audience. So if I tell you, I'm going to give you an informative presentation about this thing, what can you expect from me? Information. So you're expecting me to act as a teacher. And I shouldn't be telling you what you already know. That's not useful. I need to be expanding your knowledge about a topic. Because let's face it, I'm in a room with the most privileged people in the world. Okay, you can look up everything. I'm not going to waste your time. So this is an informative presentation where you are expanding the class's knowledge about something. That's what you should expect from each other. Next type of relationship we can have, and we will also do this in this class, is persuasive. So let's say that I'm going to deliver a persuasive presentation. What do you expect from me?
Tell me reasons why it should be persuaded.
So I will either try and change your mind about something, or if you agree with me, what can I do?
When you just want to keep showing like that, it's like why that certain thing is good.
Okay, so reinforce your viewpoint. So the example I used in my earlier classes, you could be all on board about getting an education. You're all here. Okay, so you obviously agree with this. Okay, and one of the things that I know about myself, after going to school for many years and dropping out and going back, I didn't get my bachelor's degree until I was 36. And I know you're like, God, how old is she? She's going to be so old. I am. But I know what it's like to want to give up. So what can I do now? How many of you have dropped out of school? Okay. How many of you have changed careers? Okay. So here we have over half of us. And so I know that, first of all, we're all at risk, even if you didn't raise your hand, for not finishing school. So now what I want to do is I want to reinforce this idea for you to stay in school. Okay, you're in here. I know you want that. I want you to continue doing this. So this has changed, even though you were all agreeing with me. I'm not having to convince a group of teenagers you should really go to college because this is important for you. Oh, what do I need this for? Okay, that's not where I'm at. You're already on board. So our relationship is still, I'm still persuading you. I'm just changed this because your disposition is a little bit different. The last type that your book talks about, and these aren't the only answers, these aren't the only relationships we can have with our audience, but it's to entertain, and that's what your book talks about. And for purposes of the test, these are the only three that are going to be on there, so it's going to say 3 general purposes. We know there are more, we just know that this is going to come up on the test as 3. Entertainment just means enjoyment. That's all we're looking at. So the fact checks are probably going to come out okay. You know, you can think of it like a comedy or a play or something like that. So that's our relationship with the audience, is simply for entertainment. Okay, so those are the three general purposes. We will be focused solely on the first one, the informative presentation, which go with specific organizational strategies. Okay, so now looking at your topics, we're looking into categories, and your book talks about these categories in the informative and persuasive chapter. And it's written out in kind of a boring fashion. So here, what we're looking at are these same categories that are in your book on this PowerPoint. And let's say that I want to talk about music. Okay, if I want to talk about music, where can I fit these in these categories? Where can I fit music in these categories?
Events and activities.
I can, events and activities. I could be talking about a concert, a lesson. What else? Okay, I could be talking about a person. Instruments. Okay. All right, so going along the, on the lines of music therapy, or maybe the building of a concert, an orchestra, anything with conditions or issues. Yes, yes, you want to explain to the class what that means?
Like people who like see colors when they hear music, or like they have like something where their senses are almost like commingled. So like a condition would be synesthesia.
Okay, so we could look at conditions, or you could look at something over here, expressing yourself through music. So there's a lot of things that you could go in this direction with music. But let's look at this a little bit more closely. You have about 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. It's not going to be realistic that you talk about all of these things, no matter how interesting. So you need to make some decisions, and this is part of the process of narrowing down the topic. Okay, what do you know about your topic already? What would you be wildly crazy to want to talk about when you're looking at this? So you need to pinpoint that, like today, so that you know how to research this. So with your groups, I want you to have a conversation and make some decisions. Which direction will you go? And specifically, what are you thinking? Where's that going to go? What's that going to look like? I don't know if I answered your question. You could go in that direction. You don't, just because I'm not there. Okay, so go ahead and have that conversation now. Make some decisions, and then I'll touch back with you. I'd like you to write down your further choice as far as what category, the direction you're going in on that sheet of paper, on the smaller note card. I prefer it to be just one, but every once in a while there'll be a couple.
Yeah.